Hey, what's up guys? My name is XTI and I'm here to bring you guys an awesome Havoc Demon Hunter 7.2 PvP guide. Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay, well the first thing that I want to start over I guess is how the feel of Demon Hunter in the new patch and the new changes to 7.2, and honestly I say they're doing pretty good. They haven't really gone from any much of a different place than they were in the last patches. They haven't received any like crazy or crucial changes, excuse me. They're still in the same place of where they were before, where all their main focus is to do damage and have high mobility. So let's go ahead and go over the talent tree real quick, and then we'll go over the Omni talent, and then we'll go over the stat priorities and other details like that. Now, for the 99 tree, you have Fell Mastery, Fell Blade, and Blind Fury. Fell Blade is the most obvious choice. Fell Mastery can be good in some instances. Maybe if you're, doing a whole bunch of mob killing, or there's a whole bunch of mobs in a raid, then you can probably use that for a while. But otherwise, it's just really not that good. Fellblade is the choice that you want to go with. It generates fury, hits hard, and is a gap closer, which is really nice. And it does fire damage, so it's not easily blockable. Blind Fury's Eye Beam generates 35 fury every second, and its duration is increased by 50%. It's okay. That's another one of those things where it's more of a fun talent than a good one, to be honest. It's cool if you're doing like a lot of farming, or if you have like a lot of mobs that you want to kill in raids, but otherwise you're not using it for anything else, especially not for PvP. Now for the second talent tree, we have Prepared. Reduces the cooldown Vengeful Retreat by 10 seconds and generates 40 fury over 5 seconds, and if you have damaged at least one enemy with Vengeful Retreat. Now that's an okay talent to go with. Is not really viable for PvE, just because you're not trying to flip away from the mobs all the time. You know what I mean? That kind of will stop your DPS, lower your DPS. Even if you try to fell rush back to them, you're still taking time out of your rotation to do all that, so it's not really good. Now in PvP, it's not also that good, also just because of what you have to give up. That's what I guess the main problem with that talent is. It's not really that the talent in itself is bad, but it's just because there's better options that talent is not really viable. Now Demon Blades is where you want to go. Now to be honest, I kind of went Demon Blades out of just flavor of the month. I kind of noticed everyone else is doing, looked it up, saw that everyone else is doing it, and I kind of wondered why. I really actually personally I like the Demonic Appetite, where your Chaos Strike has a 25% chance to spawn a lesser frag, healing you and granting you 35 fury. So it was a cool little thing where you have a chance to kind of like be able to sustain yourself in battle and constantly fight people. And 25% kind of does seem low, but you got to remember that you're spamming Chaos Strike. It's your main fury dump. All your damage is in the Chaos Strike, so that's where you're spamming it. So 25%, so that means every like 4 Chaos Strikes you do, you're gonna drop a frag. So that means you'll be able to constantly heal up and gain more fury. So it is pretty good in itself. If I saw someone with it, I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't think anything of it, just because it is more of a personal choice, in my opinion, with Demon Blades. Now, Demon Blades, let me explain to you why I guess it is just a generally better thing. Just because it reacts with all your other spells and everything so much better. Simply because it deals shadow damage, and with the Demon Blades and Chaos Blades, it does a stupid amount of your auto attacks rip people apart because of how much damage it does. So basically, alright, let me walk over here. That guy's loud. But anyway, so Demon Blades, your auto attacks have a 60% chance to deal additional shadow damage and generate fury. Now, before you, instead of what you have now, Demon Blades, you have Demon's Bite. I'm sorry. And Demon's Bite is pretty decent. I mean, it's good. It's a decent filler. It's what you usually use in, just about every other class as a filler to gain Fury, whatever else like that. But the thing why Demon Blaze is good is because it passively gives you Fury. So it's not like you have to waste a whole global cooldown trying to cast Chaos Strikes, Demon's Bites, Demon's Blight, and doing damage and trying to gain Fury that way. Now you're just attacking and you're constantly just generating Fury. But the thing is, obviously, is that the Fury is a lot more random. That's the thing. So at times you'll see yourself, kind of sitting there and have to do, kind of alternative attacks, like probably like the what is it? The Fell Rush and other things like that during PvP or PvE because you run out of Fury. And it's not so. That's the drawback. It's not controlled, but then again, in Demon Blades, you have it where it's constantly generating without you having to do anything. So you can spend your cooldowns, your globals and everything doing other skills. So it's kind of give or take. But the thing is, why it's good at the end of the day, better over Demon's Bite, simply is because of Chaos Blades. Chaos Blades increases all damage done by 28% based on your mastery. But the thing is the second part is, while active, your auto attacks deal 150% increased damage, and chaos is chaos damage. So now all of a sudden your auto attacks are already hitting hard, and you're already gaining Fury, and you're already transferred to shadow damage. So now your auto attacks are going to be doing 150% more damage in Chaos and Fury, in Chaos and Shadow damage. So now all of a sudden you're hitting stupid hard with your auto attacks alongside all your other attacks. So that's why it's better, because Demon's Bite doesn't really go into anything else. It's kind of a weird thing. Chaos Cleave, Chaos Strikes hits all nearby enemies for an additional 10% damage. That's good, like I said before, if you're doing PvE, or if you're farming or anything else like that. Maybe in raids, if they have a high amount of mobs that you probably have to kill. Definitely not for boss fights, those, because obviously that's not for boss fights. First Blood reduces the Fury cost of Blade Dance by 20 and increases the damage to 561,000 against the first target struck. That is amazing for PvE, amazing for farming, but it's just one of those talents when you consider it for PvP that is just not as good as your other options. It's not a bad talent, it's just not as good. So Bloodlet is definitely the main option which you want for PvP, hands down. Simply because it allows you to throw your glaive and it will bleed the target out for 150% of the damage actually inflicted. So if you crit someone, it will make them bleed really hard. And I critted people for 200,000, 300,000 glaive throws and everything else like that. So it can hit really hard and the bleed will be taken off pretty nice. Now, if this effect is reapplied, any remaining damage will be added to the new Bloodlet. So the bleed stacks, which is also an amazing thing because of the other talent down here. I'll get to that in a second, but that's easily the best choice that you want. It does a whole bunch of damage. Excuse me. Now, for your other talent tree, Nether Walk, slip into the Nether increases movement speed by 100% and become immune to damage but unable to attack. Lasts 5 seconds. Now, this is another talent, and it's a 2-minute cooldown. This is another talent that's one of those things where it's a good talent, but it's not as good as this other talent. That's all it is. And it sucks because generally it's a good thing. It's a 2-minute trinket where you get to pretty much be immune to everything. You're good. You can still get healed though. So that's kind of the thing. So you get 100% movement speed. You can't get slowed, stopped, stunned, or anything else like that. You can't get damaged or die or whatever because you're immune to damage. But your healer can still sit there and heal you. So it's pretty much a 2-minute oh shit button, and it's great. But compared to Desperate Instincts, though, which I was saying before is just not a good talent compared to this, Desperate Instincts is way better. So Blur now reduces damage taken by an additional 15%. Additionally, you automatically trigger Blur when you fall below 35% health. This effect can only occur when Blur is not on cooldown. Blur. So like I said before, that is the better talent, because initially Blur is only 35% reduced damage taken, but it also increases your dodge chance. That's all cool, But the thing is, dodge chance only applies to melee. Spellcasters and everything else don't need dodge chance. So that's why Desperate Instincts is amazing, because it changes it to 35% to a full 50% reduction for 10 seconds on a 1 minute cooldown. And let's just say, for example, you get CC locked or whatever, and you can't actually trinket, you don't have your trinket, you can't get out to actually get away, whatever, it will automatically trinket trigger for you, and then you'll start taking 50% reduced damage at 35% of your health. So it's just a really good talent to have, to be able to proc blur with, or to be able to have your own oh shit button when you start falling into low health. Now, soul rending though is another good talent that's also just not as good as Desperate Instincts, depending on your build, and that's what I'm gonna kind of describe in a second. Soul rending is amazing just because it can gain additional 70% leech while Metamorphosis is active. Without that, you gain 30%. So when you have Metamorphosis on with Soul Rending, you get 100% leech, which means all your damage that you do gets healed back to you. So you do 100% crit, you get 100%, you get 100k heal, which obviously is amazing depending on your build. Now in this build, I'm not really going into Metamorphosis. I'm not building into it, so it's not good for me to get Soul Rending compared to Desperate Instincts. But if you want it, you can always get Soul Rending, and then you can get Demonic as your talent instead of Chaos Blades. Just because every time you eye beam, you'll switch to the demonic form for 8 seconds, which means you'll be able to heal up instantly by just doing a couple of AoE eye beams. Hit them up, you'll be able to keep yourself and get back, be able to sustain yourself pretty easily that way, and that's without even bursting. So it really all depends. Now for the next talent tree is Momentum. Fell Rush and Vengeful Retreat increase your damage done by 20% for 4 seconds. That would be good if it wasn't so short. That's what it is. 4 seconds is way too short in my personal opinion, just because if you Fell Rush someone, you're probably going to be able to get like 1 or 2 skills off before you're actually done with the buff, and you have to Fell Rush again, which doesn't really make sense, because Fell Rush is something you don't want to just use back to back. Obviously you want to be able to use it to get in, get out, or whatever else like that. Fell Eruption is my personal choice. Obviously a lot of people would do that, or Nemesis. Nemesis is also really good, but Fell Eruption is just my personal choice because I love Fell Eruption. Depending on your stats priority and what you're building your stats, Fell Eruption will be a lot more better to you than probably someone else. Be a lot more better. Yeah, so I said that right. But anyways, I go personally Crit Mastery in my stat priority, but we'll be able to go over that in a second. So that's why, because it kind of ties into this. Your Mastery increases Chaos damage done. So if you stack in a whole bunch of Mastery, then all your Chaos damage obviously hits harder. Fell Eruption is based off your Chaos damage. So you see this? 600,000 damage. I'm hitting people stupid hard with this in BGs, okay? BGs, arena, whatever. I'm hitting people, and if it crits, they're fucking gone. Like, that's half their health easy. It hits so hard and it stuns them. So it is just a ridiculous skill to get. Never mind, it is perfectly viable to get in PvE just because of how much burst damage it does to bosses. Since bosses are permanently immune to stuns, you do 100% more damage. So off tops, I'll be doing over 1 million damage to a boss with Fell Eruption every 30 seconds. That's a really good DPS boost if I ever saw anything. So the next thing if you don't want to get that, obviously, the next thing is Nemesis. Increase the damage you inflict against the target by 25% for 1 minute. But the thing is like, obviously this is a dot. I'm not really sure what this is considered. I'm not really sure if this could get dispelled. I guess that's like the big question I'll have to figure out. If this Nemesis debuff can get dispelled on players, then it's horrible for PvP. Like, obviously it's really good for however long you can keep it on them, but if they dispel it, then that's a 2-minute cooldown, and then you put it on them again and it's gone again in a couple seconds. You know what I mean? So increase the damage you inflict against target by 25% for 1 minute. When the target is slain, you inflict 25% additional damage against all target creatures. So this is definitely like a PvE thing. If you're doing a lot of PvE as a demon hunter, you definitely want to get Nemesis. You just run whatever dungeon you run in, just inflict it on the first one, and then you're doing 25% additional damage for the rest of the minute, and it's just really good, easy DPS boost. Now for the next trait tree bar thing, Master of the Glaive. Throw Glaive now has 2 charges. Snare all enemies hit by 50% for 6 seconds. So that is what I was talking about with Bloodlet, where it allows you to get 2 charges, so you can smack them twice when they're trying to run. And then of course it slows them by 50% for 6 seconds. And my throw glaive is a 9-second recharge. So all I have to do is just throw you, and then when you start, when it's almost done, throw it again, and when it's almost done, my other charge will be up. And I can constantly slow you. Never mind, I can, speed up, fell rush over to you, leap over to you, whatever, and I'll be able to get to you. You can't run from Debo Hunter when they glaive you. It's impossible. So that's easily the best choice you have for PvP. And then I see Unleash Power removes the Fury cost of Chaos Nova, reduces his cooldown by 33%. That's not really good. It's just, that's, let me not say that. It is good, but it's just because, like I said before, Master of the Warglaive is just a better talent. That's all it is. Unleash Power in itself is decent, but Master of the Warglaive, Master of the Glaive is just better. Demon Reborn invoking Metamorphosis also resets the cooldown of I-Beam, Chaos Nova, and Blur. This is strictly PvE, even if you get it for PvE, in my personal opinion. It's just, it makes sense to get because, Unleash Power and Master of the Glaive won't really do anything for you in PvE. So it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, I guess. Now, for the last tree, like I said before, it's really up to you in what talent build that you decide to go to. If you decide to build like mine, Chaos Blaze is definitely the best thing. Fel Barrage is pretty nice. Definitely pretty nice. This is more for a BG thing if you kind of want to like shake it up a little bit and blow people up and have some fun, because you can do a lot of damage. It can crit, obviously, and then it blows people up. So it's just one of those things. But 30-second charge with a recharge on 1 stack. That's how it is. So it's not like in 30 seconds you'll have 5 charges again. You can keep doing 5 charges every 30 seconds. It's 1 charge 30 seconds, other charge 30 seconds, other charge 30 seconds. So you're waiting like a long time for this thing. Now, but the thing is, like it says here, is your damaging abilities have a chance to generate a charge, so it could kind of lower the cooldown. But And like I said before, Demonic I-Beam causes you to enter demon form for 8 seconds after it finishes dealing damage, which works perfectly with Soul Rending. So it depends on your build and where you want to go, depending on how you want to build and how you want to go, I guess. Whatever. Now, let's go with the honor talents. So Gladiator's Medallion is the best choice out of these 3. I don't got all of them yet. I got the ones that matters the most to me. I kind of want Eye of Lotharius, but we'll get into that. So Adaption is just, that's not even like an option. Relentless, not an option. You'll get murdered if you don't have a trinket. You absolutely need a trinket. Hardiness, while above 80% health, you take 20% less damage. That sounds okay, but you're definitely going to fall below 80% health. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to keep yourself like that high. But unless you're doing 2s or you're doing 3s or something, you have like a good healer. Otherwise, there's no reason to get that. Reinforced armor is easily the best decision. Just get 10% more health and just be done with it. Sparring physical melee attacks have a 20% chance to be blunted, dealing 50% reduced damage. Like I said, that's horrible. A lot of people are casters now. It does nothing. Solitude. Increase your damage done by 50% and attack speed by 50% when there are no allies within 15 yards. So originally I thought that this was actually going to be like a bad talent. I thought that I was like, there's always going to be people around you in arenas, usually they're close by, whatever. But actually doing arenas actually going through arenas and doing PGs and everything, I realized that actually procs a lot more than you would think. And out of nowhere, when that procs, when you get far enough, you can single someone out, or when your partner's not next to you, and you get that extra 15% damage buff, and then you get the 15% attack speed along with the auto attacks and everything. It can get pretty crazy, to be honest. It can get real crazy. So I shut my mouth about that, and I'm just happy about that now. Glimpse, you automatically gain blur for 3.0 seconds after you use Vengeful Retreat. Unless you went prepared, there's absolutely no reason to get that. Vengeful Retreat's a 25-second cooldown without that talent, and it'll be nowhere near worth a 3-second blur. Increase the chance, cover of darkness, increase the chance for you and your allies to avoid damage while within your darkness effect by 50%. So this is a generally cool talent, I guess, but the thing is, it's not worth it because darkness is a 3-minute cooldown. Now, it's cool because it reduces the chance of you actually getting hit, and you could avoid damage by 70%. But a 70% chance of not getting fucked up by something on a 3-minute cooldown is in no way worth it. Next talent, Unending Hatred. Anytime you're victim to a magical effect, you gain 10 Fury. That's pretty cool. Like it's okay, it's not a good choice compared to reverse magic. That's all it is. So reverse magic is a 1-minute cooldown, and it dispels all harmful magical effects from you and all nearby allies within 10 yards and send them back to the caster. So if you notice that your allies, your healer or whatever, your tank or your partner in the 2s, 3s or whatever, is getting nuked down by casters and CC chain, or whatever else like that, you don't even have to you're not even getting bursted. You can go over to him and dispel all of them for him, so you don't have to worry about him getting bursted. That's crazy. So locks, boomkins, all those kind of people, you just help them out, and that's really, really strong cooldown. And then it's 1 minute till you can do that. That's easily the best option, next to Eye of Leotheris, whatever that is. So Eye of Leotheris is you keep a watchful eye over the enemy. Whenever they cast a harmful spell, they suffer 6% of the health and shadow damage, and refresh the duration of Eye of Leotheris. Lasts 6 seconds. This is an extremely strong skill in like RBGs and BGs. Extremely strong. Healers are never paying attention. If healers don't have people like directly on top of them, they're just trying to heal. They're just trying to do what they can. You know what I'm saying? So if they're not paying attention to the actual debuff on them and they're just healing, they're gonna get melted. Even in arenas, it'll be the same thing. You can get someone low and then put that on the healer. So the healer will have to decide, I'm either gonna have to wait 6 seconds, or I'm gonna try to either heal past this and then take 6% of my health every time I cast something, which is a decent amount, saying that healers obviously will have to burst heal people and pop a whole bunch of cooldowns and do a bunch of things to keep someone alive if they're almost dead. So they're just burning themselves. It's a really smart cooldown, really cool. Really depends on the comp and what you're doing, though, to be honest. So pretty much, if you're fighting a whole bunch of dots like Shadow Priest, Lock, whatever else like that, reverse magic is your thing. You can have all your teammates in 3s, 2s, or get near people in BGs, take them all off of them for them. If you're versus a more of a melee comp or anything else like that, where they're not putting dots on you, then Eye of Leotheris would be way better, because you can constantly put that on the healer. Now for the next tree, Demonic Origins. The cooldown of a Metamorphosis is reduced by 2 minutes, but now lasts 15 seconds. While not a Metamorphosis, your damage is increased by 10%. This thing is amazing, okay? Because this Demonic Origins, along with Solitude, you are destroying people. You're running around slapping people around for their lunch money, okay? You get an automatic 25% damage increase buff, and then with a 15% attack speed buff from the jump, alright? So you're already stronger than people. And then plus Metamorphosis obviously being a shorter cooldown is always very, very nice, because when you switch to it, you can have a chance to survive, you get more health and everything else like that. Now, Mana Rift is a weird spell. It doesn't really make sense to me, because you manifest in a 6-yard wide Mana Rift under the feet of the target. After 2 yards, it erupts, dealing 8% of the maximum health and chaos damage, and destroys 8% of the enemy's total mana if present. That's cool. But 2 seconds, think about that. They have to be sitting there for 2 seconds before they can actually get hit with that. So it's like, if most people aren't, especially when you get to higher rated RBGs, if most people see something underneath them, they're gonna move. They're not gonna sit there and be like, oh, what's this? So it's kind of one of those weird things where you have to have like a CC comp, I guess, where you can try to pull that off. Otherwise, it's not really useful. It's just too risky. 10-second cooldown. Awaken the demon within. If you reach 50% health, you automatically gain Metamorphosis for 6 seconds. This effect has a 1-minute cooldown. In addition, the duration of Metamorphosis will be refreshed up to a maximum of 6 seconds while at or below 20% health. So basically, if you go to 50% health and you're still dying, if you're at 20% health in your Metamorphosis, it will keep refreshing itself, pretty much. Now, this is something that would definitely be able to rival Demonic Origins depending on your build. So if you went Soul Rending and then Demonic, and then you got Awaken the Demon Within, is all perfect. Well, you know what I mean? It's all perfect. You I-beam, you're flying around, healing a whole bunch, dealing damage. The moment you get 50% health, you switch back, automatically start dealing damage, get back, help again, you know what I mean? You can switch and constantly heal and survive and sustain yourself a lot with this build. And since it's only a minute cooldown, you can proc, that's pretty good. Now, I'll proc a couple times in arenas, depending. You probably get like 2 procs off that. And that's pretty good, obviously, since you can just come right back up. Now, the last tree. Detainment. Imprisoned PvP duration is increased by 1 second, and the target become immune to damage and healing while imprisoned. Cooldowns increased to 30 seconds. Now, that's pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it's alright. It's nothing too crazy, because right now you can still do it without the talent. Initially, I thought that you had to have this to be able to do it to like actual other players. I thought you could only do it to like other demons and like other like pets and stuff like that. So it's cool that you can. But the thing is that, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool because this forces the person to go through the whole thing. Without this talent tree, if someone was to go over there and hit it, then they'll get out. And, just like a fear, they have a chance to get out or whatever else like that. But this makes it where they're immune to healing and damage, so they have to sit in there the whole, I don't know, 2-3 seconds, however long they're in there for, it doesn't say. But the thing is, this is a good talent. The problem is that Rain from Above is just way better. It's just way better. It just doesn't matter. Now, for example, Rain from Above, you fly into the air out of harm's way. While floating, you gain access to Fell Lance, allowing you to deal damage to enemies below. Fell Lance allows you to jump super high in the air and shoot people for 6% of their health and chaos damage. Every shot. 6%. So yeah, on a 1-minute cooldown, that's ridiculous. If you're versus a melee comp or anything else like that, forget about it. You could just constantly keep doing this and they can't do anything. Mana Break deals 5% of the target's maximum health and chaos damage. Damage is increased to lower the target's current mana and up to 25% of the target's maximum health and damage. Now, this is really good, obviously. If you're versus any kind of spellcaster or anything else like that, it's really good. But if you're versus any kind of melee comps like Warrior or another Demon Hunter or anything else like that, it is just too long. Like, Rain from Above will just give you way more advantage over melee comps because they can't touch you. They can't do anything to you. You know, they're melee, they're on the floor, and then you're in the sky, and you're just shooting them down. So it just gives you a lot of stuff. Now, if you're versus, you know, spellcasters, I don't even then it's still a minute cooldown, and then it only works for mana. So if you're versus, like I said, Demon Hunter, anything that doesn't use mana, it doesn't hit as hard. It's only going to be 5% of the health every minute. So it's kind of a thing. Now, let's go over a stat priority real quick. Like I said, I try to go crit and mastery. Crit just so like everything I do crits and it hits hard and it's awesome. And mastery so all my chaos damage hits harder. So that means my eye beam hits harder, my fell eruption hits harder, my chaos blades make me hit harder. It just works perfectly well together that way. Now let's go into the tree. What I did originally was I wanted the eye beam. I don't know why. I just really like the idea of doing the eye beam and having it stack and stuff like that. And then I went to go get Inner Demons, just because Inner Demons is amazing. Whenever it procs, it's amazing. It hits so hard. It's just a huge splash damage. And then even if you try to run away, it still does the damage. It like targets you, but everywhere around you too. It's just great. Now, so what I do recommend is that you probably go, I would say probably go Inner Demons first, and then Rage of the Illidari, to be honest. Rage of the Illidari, just because Rage of the Illidari is really nice. Every time you do a Fury of the Illidari, after it does all the damage, it explodes afterwards for 60% of the damage it did. So it's just even more AoE. And then of course Anguish of the Deceiver is amazing too. You eye beam people, get 10 stacks, it explodes each stacks for 16,000. So you're doing at least 160,000 damage for the explosion after the damage from your eye beam. So it's just great, guys. So I mean, there's not much to really talk about, to be honest. For Demon Hunters are really clear cut and cookie. You're just running around blowing people up and trying to do as much damage. Since we're not really a hybrid class, we don't really have any of the crazy technical skills or key binding needs, because we can't really off heal or do anything else like that. We're just kind of singular targeting damage. But it's cool though. I always like it that way. You know, I appreciate it, and you know, I kind of like this style. I had to grow to it. I had to, you know, really adjust to it. But otherwise, guys, this was just a quick guide. Well, a quick guide. This probably took forever. This was a quick guide to Demon Hunter. I sure hope you liked the video. If you do, be sure to like and subscribe. Later, guys.